Edition of In Touch with me, Pierre Emmanuel. By now you would have heard that the 20-pound LPG cylinder is cheaper than it was 15 years ago in St. Lucia. You would have also heard that the Prime Minister announced that we would be reviewing the modified pass-through mechanism to adjust fuel prices for the time being every 3 weeks. This would mean that the prices of gasoline and diesel especially have been reduced significantly. For a more comprehensive report, I now take you to the press release issued by the Office of the Prime Minister earlier today. Consistent with the statements of the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Affairs, National Development and Social Security to the media, that at the next adjustment of fuel prices, consumers will experience reductions. The government of St. Lucia is pleased to announce reductions in fuel prices and propane gas. This decision follows a review of the 3-month pricing mechanism announced by the Prime Minister in his New Year address to the nation. In that address, the Prime Minister said that, and I quote, "If the price of a barrel of oil declines even more sharply in the next few weeks, it may well make sense to adjust the period of calculation from a period of 12 weeks to 8 weeks or even less in the short term," end of quote. Having reviewed the movement of prices in the last few weeks, the government has decided that it makes sense to adopt a flexible approach to deal with the uncertainty that prevails in fuel prices. In this current period of lower fuel prices, the government will apply the pass-through mechanism every 3 weeks to allow consumers to benefit from any further downward movement in prices. However, if prices show an upward movement, the government will consider reverting to the 3-month pass-through mechanism or variation of it to restore greater stability in prices, as it had done so successfully in the past 3 years. The price of unleaded gasoline will decline from $13.65 to $10.65 a gallon, a saving of $3. The price of diesel will fall from $13.21 to $11.07 a gallon, a decline of $2.14. The price of kerosene remains unchanged at $10.11. Reductions will also occur with propane gas. The price of 20-pound cylinder will reduce from $32.89 to $24.20, a reduction of $8.69. A 22-pound cylinder will now cost $27.01, a reduction of $13.99 from the original price of $41. The price of the 100-pound cylinder will decline from $235.77 to $192.33, a reduction of $43.44. The government urges consumers to make use of the reductions in the prices of propane gas, as it is unknown how long this respite in prices will last. These reduced prices will continue to attract the excise tax rate of $2.50 as announced in the last budgetary statement. Meanwhile, the government of St. Lucia reiterates that it is blatantly false, dishonest, and mischievous to suggest that it is collecting an extra $2.50 in taxes on fuel, as claimed by the leader of the United Workers' Party and the parliamentary representative of Castries Southeast. The government wishes to emphasize to consumers that prices remain highly unpredictable. In recent times, there has been an upward movement in prices, but as of now, there is mounting uncertainty whether these prices will fall further or begin to rise again. The situation will have to be closely monitored in the days ahead. So there you have an announcement of reductions in the prices of gasoline, diesel, and LPG. And you also have an announcement announcing changes to the pricing mechanism from a 3-month period to a 3-week period. Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre, I welcome you to In Touch. It's been a long time coming. I have actually been looking forward to your presence on this show. So good night and welcome to In Touch.
Thank you very much, Jada. Thank you for having me, and good night to listeners.
Even before we start our discussion tonight, I must say to you that there is an open invitation for you to come back soon, because I know we will not get to discuss everything that we need to discuss tonight, especially as it relates to your ministry. There's a lot of work happening in the Ministry of Infrastructure. There is so much that we can discuss, but I want to start tonight by focusing on the issue of fuel prices. Prices are the lowest they have been in St. Lucia for a very long time. In fact, tonight, I was very pleased that I went to the gas station on empty. I gave $50 and my tank is just about half. I celebrated that tonight, and I have been receiving photographs and pictures and commentary from members of the public saying, thank you. Finally, we can see a reduction in the prices of fuel, a significant reduction, because we have a $3 reduction in the price of gasoline, for example, and gasoline was already reduced by over $2 on the 12th of January. The decision to move from the 3-month to the 3 weeks and to further introduce reductions at this time, it was driven by what exactly?
Well, first of all, as a consumer, I too am enjoying the benefits of low prices, because as you know, I've got to buy gas for my car.
Yes.
Like everybody else. So as a consumer, I'm very happy.
So you smile today?
Yes, I'm very happy as a consumer. Secondly, it signifies how the economies of these islands in St. Lucia, how they depend on what happens in the rest of the world. But I want to make one point clear. No one knew that fuel would have had such a drastic change. It wasn't predicted. It wasn't predicted by the IMF. It wasn't predicted by anybody. It hit the world suddenly. So anybody who pretends that they knew that and they could tell government do this and that, they're actually not telling the truth. That hit the world by storm. I think the change in fuel prices came about because of several reasons, which we don't want to go into now. But the fact is, the change in fuel prices, it's a real thing, the drop in fuel prices. But we must understand a few things. The fuel comes from oil. And the changes in the price of oil doesn't necessarily mean that the same changes will happen in the price of fuel. So they are not mutually exclusive. But fact is, when the price of oil goes down, the price of fuel will most likely go down too, because fuel comes from oil. And secondly, I want to just talk about the pricing of fuel and compare it to a supermarket. Mm-hmm. There is some talk about surplus government, whether they made a surplus, where did the money go, etc.
Yes, that question has been asked by the
opposition.
opposition.
I really want to deal with that. If you have a supermarket and the government gives, there are some price control items, okay? You know that. When the government says that such a few items must not be sold at a price higher than, let's say, $5. Mm-hmm. So it's price control. Yes. The government says, listen to me, you mustn't sell this item at $5. Now, the government doesn't care what price you buy it, but you say you mustn't sell it, because it means you have to you are protecting the consumer. Mm-hmm. Supposing you do your marketing and your shopping and you get that same good for $1, okay? But the government says you must sell it at $5. Mm-hmm. So in effect, you've got a good for a cheaper rate. Yes. Does the government get money? I mean, the logic is simple. Yes. I'll say it again. If you have a supermarket and you have some price control items selling, and the government says what the government gives you the maximum retail price, you go around, you do your marketing, or there are changes in the world market, and you get that good cheaper, but you still sell it at $5. Does the government does the government make a profit? It's the same thing with fuel. The government doesn't import fuel. The government doesn't sell fuel. The government is clear. All what the government makes on fuel is $2.50 and the service charge. So fuel has a fixed price. So the price that it is imported for does not matter, because there's a fixed price. So it's not possible, it's not feasible, it's nonsensical to say that because the CIF prices or the cost price of fuel went down and the government has put a fixed price on the final product, that the government is making money. Where is the government making the money? From what source? How is it possible? If there's any difference, the importer is the one whose cash flow is improving because he has to pay less for the same amount of goods. And so it is the importer, not the government. I think it is wrong to mislead the public for political reasons. The government can make no extra surplus on the low price of oil. But I'll tell you something. There is a school of thought that says that government, because of the fiscal situation, should increase the markup from $2.50 to $3.
Yes, I've heard that argument.
Yeah, there's a strong school of thought. And I think some governments
and remove the subsidies on the cooking gas as well.
Well, some people say that, right? In fact, in Antigua, the government has taken that position. They've reduced the price, but they've taken more for themselves. But this government, because it made a promise to take only $2.50 per gallon, that's what it's doing, right? But there's a very strong school of thought that says, because of the fiscal situation, government should take more than $2.50. So I think it's ludicrous to say that government is making a surplus, whether the money is gone. I mean, for big men to spend so much time to say these kind of things in public, when it is clear it is not true, it's nonsensical. All right. Once some civil servant know, so what's happening? The government is taking the money and do what with it? They hide it? It doesn't make sense. Have you ever seen any gas station, any import of oil that says government of St. It's rubbish and salt.
Yes.
I mean, this is where
there are suggestions that the government is reacting to pressure from the United Workers' Party and reacting specifically to a march that was held. Well, I didn't feel it, I didn't see it, but perhaps from the cabinet's point of view, I know that from the Prime Minister's New Year's address, he indicated that if the prices continue to decline sharply, then consideration would be given to adjusting the period. However, the United Workers' Party and some suggest that the changes and the benefits that the public are enjoying now is as a result of comments made by the opposition. What is your own view on that?
Well, first of all, the government has never changed. When the first adjustment was made, it was a policy that had been placed from 2012.
Yes.
So there is no change. There is no pressure. The Prime Minister had made a commitment that he'd have changed the pass-through mechanism from 1 month to 3 months to ensure stability. And it's a fact that there was some benefits under that 3-month system because there was a time when the price of oil went up. The government had to subsidize it, and the government did not make the $2.50 at all. Sometimes the government made $1.40. I think there's a time, I'm not sure, but they made $1.10. I think they only made $2.50 once or twice between 2012 and now because of the price of the imported fuel. Now, when the price, if it goes to 4 weeks, as the opposition was saying, the consumer would have paid more all the time because there would be only a short window to calculate the average cost.
Yeah.
You see, because you see, it's simple maths. It's worked on an average. That what the government does is they take all the prices of the oil from rubbish and soil, and an average is worked, and they apply 7%, the wholesalers markup, the retailers market, the $2.50, or in some order, and they come with the price. All right. So if you do that every 4 weeks and prices are going up, the average is going to be higher. So over 3 months, there's a larger span. So it takes more time. So you have more average costs to calculate than if you do it over a 4-week period. But now prices are going down. And the Prime Minister was clear. In his address, he said, if prices continue to go down, then we will relook at the way it's calculated. That happened. That was said long before the UWP had any match. I mean, I've been in politics for a long time.
Have you heard the suggestion that the decision to reduce the prices was a decision made between yourself and Honorable Emma Hippolyte in the absence of the Prime Minister, that basically you went behind the Prime Minister's back to change the policy without any consultation with him?
Well, our cabinet doesn't work behind anybody's back. we're not involved in any cabinet where the prime minister is to sit and take a decision, and after some people go against it, cause the prime minister to get a stroke. That doesn't happen in parliament. It doesn't happen in the cabinet. So I'm not even talking about it. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not getting involved in that.
Even as the prices are reducing now, Deputy Prime Minister, many persons are already looking at the future. In fact, when the announcement was made this morning, I got a message from a taxi driver who said, do you realize that prices are beginning to increase in places like the US? So while many persons are eager to enjoy the benefits now, they are still mindful that the prices are very volatile and prices are already beginning to increase. What next?
And that is a sensible position to take. You see, and that is why the 3-month period was better. We can tell you something. If, supposing there was a 3-month system, we'd have enjoyed low prices for a month.
Yes.
And if prices had gone up in the second or third month, we'd have still enjoyed the low prices because it's an average. Average is simple. It's the sum, the total, which is the sum over the number. So the longer period, you have more figures to deal with. But I hope that if prices go up, and for our sake, and for the sake of the consumer, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope when the prices go up, and if we remain on the 3-month pass-through, the 3-week pass-through mechanism system, and the prices go up, I hope there are no complaints.
I can already tell you that the very same persons who would be agitating for a shorter period, once prices begin to increase, there would be the voices agitating for increases as well.
Exactly.
Deputy Prime Minister, the economy, yes, it is driven by fuel prices. There are other considerations, of course, tied to the fuel prices, and one of these considerations that was widely discussed very recently would be that of the bus fares. Many persons were nervous that given the prices at the time that there may have been increases in bus fares. In fact, the opposition ran a campaign and a march on the premise that there will be a bus fare increase. The government of St. Lucia continues to dialogue with the NCOPT on the matter. Is there any update that we can get given the current situation of reductions?
Well, I haven't spoken to the NCOPT since the reductions, but I must tell you, and I want to say it on public TV, to public, I'm very impressed with the NCOPT, and not the NCOPT alone, but the majority of minibus drivers and minibus owners. I'm very impressed with them at the sensitivities, as the way they understand what's happening. You must understand also that the bus business is private sector enterprise. It's a business, right? So you don't sell business if you're not making a profit.
Yes. So
that's the first case. Secondly, the NCOPT and their affiliates came to a meeting in the ministry, and we had an accord. We said, listen to me. They said that, listen, we want 4 or 5 conditions, and I said, okay, we'll take it to the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister, and we'll come out with a solution by the 10th of March. Mm-hmm. But what I want to make it clear is that the last minibus increase was in 2008.
Yes.
When fuel was $12.72 per gallon. Now fuel is $10.69.
It's lower.
It's much lower, yeah?
Yes.
But I think that the minibus drivers are enjoying the prices they reduced, because if you bought 10 gallons of gas, now you're actually going to save $10 at 15 is $150, 10 at 10 is $100, so you actually save $50 on every $150 worth of gas you buy. But I don't want to into prejudice our discussions.
Understood.
But I must tell you, we have been very fruitful in this discussion. I must applaud the NCOPT and the affiliates and the majority of bus drivers who did not yield the call to be politically opportunistic.
One would argue as well that one of the major considerations as it relates to the cost of transportation would be our road network, the condition of our road network. A few years ago, St. Lucia suffered the battering of Hurricane Thomas. We did not see that urgency on the part of the government to restore our road network. The Badlil, for example, was and remained in a deplorable condition for quite some time. We are now at the point where we are having improved roads. Week after week, we see bridges being repaired. There are roads under construction. Certainly, that would be a matter of consideration as it relates to bus fares as well.
Sure. But I must tell you, there are quite a few roads that still need repair.
Yes.
So, but we trying our best. But I just want you to take you back a little bit. I don't know if you remember in 2011 the state of Bridge Street.
Yes.
You remember
yes.
Bridge Street?
Yes.
And people, I mean, the state of, if you looked at the
and that is
streets,
the main street in
look at the streets in
Castries.
Castries in 2011. Look at St. Louis Street, Mico Street, the state of the streets. If you see most of the streets are repaired, and very shortly we're going to be repairing the last street in the Castries, in the inner Castries road network that's not repaired is the Bourbon Street. That's the street by the library. We hope to be doing that soon. Remember the street in Vieux-Fort?
Yes.
The street in Soufrière. I mean, I'm talking about the city, you see. So we're trying our best. But I'll tell you something, in the ministry, we are doing a lot more with less. The money that was available between 2011, 2006 and 2011 is not available now. We are doing much more with less. We're doing some major savings because of better planning, because of more transparency, and because the technical people in the ministry are being allowed to do their work. But there's quite some work still to be done. But I'll tell you what, this year is going to be extremely exciting. There's quite a lot of work to be done this year. We just signed with the Bus-La-Grasse Road. The Bus-La-Grasse Road it's a road that is going to cost us $29 million. I just want to stick a pin on the Bus-La-Grasse Road.
You can take all the time you need because this is a road in my home community.
Yes, that's it. Right, yes. right. And we're also doing some work on the Opika Road.
Yes,
yes,
as
we
well.
some work there, some drainage. We hope to do some more work on it very shortly. I just want the Bus-La-Grasse Road. I heard somewhere that somebody was querying the cost of the Bus-La-Grasse Road and giving the impression that the government put the price on the Bus-La-Grasse Road. I want to make it clear once and for all. The Bus-La-Grasse Road, just like the Bois-de-Vence Bridge, was put on public tender. Public. Public tender. The Bus-La-Grasse Road was a public tender on a design finance build, which means that the private sector or the contractor would have made the money available and the government would pay him over time.
Just as we did with the Vieux-Fort Road.
Just like we did with
Clark Street. Okay.
Now, these roads were put on public tender. It was advertised in the gazettes, on the website, locally and regionally. 7 contractors who came in and expressed interest, what they call expressions of interest. Out of that, 3 of them completed their bids and sent in their bids to the government of St. Lucia. The bids do not come to the Ministry of Infrastructure. It doesn't come to the Minister of Infrastructure. It doesn't come to the Prime Minister. It doesn't come to the Minister of Finance. It goes to the Central Tenders Board. The bids are open in public. Everyone can come to see them. They are open in public. Everyone can see it.
Do you have any influence over the Central Tenders Board?
Absolutely. The Central Tenders is a creature of the Constitution, a creature of the Finance Act. Civil servants on the Central Tenders Board. There's no politician in the Central Tenders Board. There's no politician. There's nobody that's politically appointed like you. There's no one. A pure career civil servants. It's opened in front of everybody. So supposing some company XY has a tender, it's open, everybody sees. Company BC, everybody sees. Company D, everybody sees. And the prices are read out loud. So it's read. It's
almost like an auction.
It's almost like an auction. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Then after, it goes to an evaluation committee. It's evaluated, and it's, listen to me, that is what's happening. Sometimes it has 2 processes. Sometimes the process is in 2 parts. Sometimes the technical part is open first and the financial part is open second. So sometimes the technical part is evaluated and then the finances. So to keep it separate. In the Bus-La-Grasse Road, 3 firms tendered. 2 local firms and a Jamaican firm. 3 firms tendered. After the evaluation, the firm that was awarded the contract was $4 million less than the firm that came second. and $6 million less than the film that came first. So that came to $29 million. So how can anyone in his right senses, if you're not deliberately misleading, try to fool people and tell them that the cost of the road, I'll tell you something. So a businessman would tender for a cost for something that he's putting his own money in. So the logic doesn't make any sense.
But what about the Borderwash Bridge? Because you have explained, you have done so in the House of Assembly, you've done so via the media.
Technocrats have done so.
Yes.
You see, I'll tell you something. And you know, people always tell you, people say, oh, you must come and explain to the public. Explain to the public, explain. Ask a question, go to a press conference. When you do that, I remember giving a press conference about the A&M roads and asked the press questions. Anybody have any questions?
They were silent.
Yes. I showed documents. I said, look, questions, documents, answer me. I'm there. Ask me whatever you want. Because as you know, JD, I don't ask you to send questions on me before. Because I speak the truth, so you can ask me anything. I never ask for, tell me what you're going to ask me if I don't get involved in that.
But there has been a suggestion on the Borderwash Bridge that to put this matter to rest, the government should engage the services of private individuals.
To do what?
Whether to evaluate the bridge, to evaluate the cost of the bridge.
Okay, let's get back to the Borderwash Bridge quickly. And we have short memories in St. Lucia. You may recall, before the bridge was built, there was a contract signing ceremony at the Ministry of Infrastructure. I don't remember that. At that contract signing ceremony, the consultant that was appointed by the UWP outlined the cost of the bridge. He went into every detail, and the tape is available. One day I will ask you to play this tape. It's available for everybody. The consultant, not me, not the staff of the ministry, the consultant that was appointed by the UWP at that signing ceremony. But conveniently we've forgotten that. He outlined the cost of the bridge. The bridge cost $8.7 million and the rest is VAT. He outlined it. He detailed everything. The Bonte Bridge was again given to the lowest bidder. After six contractors, the contractor that got the bridge was again international competitive bidding. That one was international. There were firms from Canada, from England, from Jamaica, from Barbados, international. So all of these guys were in collusion with the Ministry of Infrastructure. And then the World Bank came in and did the analysis because it's World Bank money. They did the analysis. Then the World Bank, then we were still not satisfied. We asked for the Army Corps of Engineers. These guys were also in collusion with somebody. So I mean, it is really, and the sad thing is people just repeat these things, you know.
Yes.
So
there are those who do not know better.
All that was done. Then after, when the bridge was finished, the cost again were outlined because there were no cost overruns on that bridge. The cost again were outlined. So get somebody to evaluate what. Now the question is, how much does a bridge cost? I mean, so it doesn't make any sense. How you can just look at a bridge and say it's too much? So you just look at it? I mean, now I have something coming to you. The shock bridge is going to be more expensive.
Wow.
You know, because as it's always said, and Mr. Fisher makes that point clear, climate change, you've got to make the infrastructure more resilient.
Yes,
you've got to make it more resilient. You understand? So I just want to tell you that we clear, and we, you know, I did something. When you are doing something and you know truth is on your side, there's nothing to be afraid of. Truth is on your side. You understand? So in all these things, it is clear. The processes, they are outlined, the ministry staff. And
the information is made public.
All the time.
Did we do for our first commercial break? When we come back, we'll be continuing our discussion with the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre. Please stay in touch. We'll be right back. Welcome back to In Touch. My guest this evening is Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre. We have been focusing on a number of issues. We spoke a little earlier about the reduction in fuel prices. Of course, you'll get an opportunity to call in to express your views closer to the end of the program. We have been focusing on the work of the Ministry of Infrastructure. We spoke about bridges, Deputy Prime Minister. A number of bridges have been completed. I would believe this is a record number of bridges in such a short space of time.
17, yeah.
Yes. We now have the Alba Bridge under construction. One of the problem areas as it relates to our main road network between the north and the south, many persons are already asking what will happen to the bridge in Tomaso, because that bridge too is a very low bridge and we have flooding and silt and so on in that area. I want to speak to that issue, but before that, on the Alba Bridge, whereas the issue for the Bois de Wash Bridge has been the cost. Many persons have been debating the cost going back and forth. I am now hearing that many persons are skeptical that the Alba Bridge can hold 2 vehicles. They are saying that this bridge is too small. Why are we spending so much money on a bridge and the bridge is so small? I know you say all the time that you're not an engineer and you would not get involved in the business of engineers, but certainly as Minister for Infrastructure, you would have to ensure that there is proper oversight, that what is being presented to the public is in fact something that is meaningful or and more beneficial. Can the bridge hold 2 vehicles?
Julia, I shouldn't be laughing.
I understand why you're laughing because it was funny to me when I heard it as well. I really don't understand
that. To be safe, I'm going to ask the engineer, I'm going to ask the contractor and chief engineer tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm going to ask them where the bridge.
I was there. Well, I passed there all of the time, and in fact, I took some photographs that I said I needed to share. But
I'm glad you were speaking about the Alba Bridge.
Yes.
You see the bypass road next to the Alba Bridge?
Yes.
It costs about $700,000. You see the bypass bridge next to the Bois de Wash Bridge? It costs $3 point something million.
Why is it closed?
Without VAT.
Okay.
And it was built by direct award. You understand? All the bypass. So when you're talking about costs, the bypass road, that for all intent and purposes is a private road. You understand? Built by the government for private individual. Basically, that's what it is. Because we did the Bonte Bridge and the bypass road cost $907,000. And afterward, it was taken off.
Yes.
The Alba Bridge, the bypass cost $77,000. Afterwards, it will be taken off. The Bois de Wash bypass road is a permanent structure that costs $3.7 million.
What's going to happen to that bypass?
It'll build up the price of the land for the private landowner.
Wow. On the issue of traffic between Castries and Grosley, as we speak of the bypass road, it remains a challenge. And I noted that the government announced that we would be moving forward to advance plans to make that entire area a 4-lane roadwork. Where are we with this so far?
I think the Prime Minister will have an announcement to make very shortly on the Grosley-Castries Highway. I think the Prime Minister is going to make an announcement, which should be pleasing many people. But what I can tell you is last year, the people from the QAT fund were here.
Yes.
There was an assessment, and the Prime Minister will announce very shortly what will happen. But I must also tell you that the QATs, between the years 2006 to 2011, never did anything in St. Lucia. Neither grant funding or loan funding, because of the way they were treated, the things that were said about them. You heard all the inquiries and etc. Right? But right now, we're pleased that they are back, and again, we're going to have an onslaught on the agricultural roads. It's called the Feed and Agriculture Road Project. And again, I don't want to preempt the announcements, but I think we'll have some good news for the farmers in a very short while. But you were speaking about the bridges.
Yes.
The Tomaso Bridge, by the way, this year we're going to be building 3 more bridges. The Tomaso Bridge, the Canvis Bridge, and the Asso Canal Bridge.
Okay.
Asso Canal is a place in Grosley, and it's been built by funds from the Turkish government. We're going to be breaking ground on that very shortly, in about 2 weeks' time. A contract has already been awarded. And the Tomaso Bridge and the Canvis Bridge, they've been funded by the World Bank. I understand that the consultancy report and the design and the costing for the Tomaso Bridge is ready.
That's good news.
Canvis Bridge is going to come soon. So, and again, I'll tell you the process. It's a World Bank not World Bank, that's a CDB finance. There's going to be a pre-qualification. Contractors have to pre-qualify. After they pre-qualify, it goes to the CDB, just like the Bois de Wash went to the World Bank for no objection. So even after the Central Tenders Board accepts it, it goes to the funding agency and there is a no objection. So you see why all the A&M roads were done without going through that process. You understand? Now, but these roads have all that process. So the bridges are going to go to the World Bank, in the case of Tamazo and Canwis, to the CDB for an objection. It's going to come back. There's going to be another tender. And then after, it's going to go back to the World Bank for the CDB for no objection. So we believe that around June this year, construction will start on the Tamazo Bridge, around June this year.
A number of roads under construction in Choiseul, some complete. I went to Fiat in Choiseul over the weekend and I was very pleased. In fact, the residents are overjoyed because they are saying that this road, the condition was deplorable and neglected for a very long time. Other areas, other communities continue to speak about the conditions of their roads and looking forward to some relief from the government of St. Lucia. Can you speak to any plans for this this coming fiscal year as it relates to our roads?
What do you see? It's not only Fiat, JD, there's also Monjac. It's
yes.
finished, and as we speak, there's work on Balka and Daba.
Yes.
Now, these roads are done on a finance bill. The government designs and the contractor finance and build. Now, the difference between us, between this government, is that we get quotes from 2 or 3 contractors. Some cases 5 contractors. We get quotes from them, and then there is an interview and the contractor is chosen. So again, it's not like E&M where one contractor was chosen without any quote from any other contractor. See, there are quotes from the contractors. We are doing that, so that's happening. So we're working on these roads, and then we're also working on some roads in Vieux-Fort North. And we've done some drainage. I know. I know you like that.
That is good news. That is good news.
We started on the drainage.
Yes, yes.
We did about 12,000 or so for drains on this road. And then we're going to work on that. But as I said to you, the African fiscal realities you have to deal with.
Yes.
So a lot of these things have to be done with a finance bill, right? But there's some relief for the folks in the city. We're looking at Chaussee Road and Cicero. That road there, we want to do it. But there are a list of roads that we want to repair. But again, I can't make an announcement as yet.
Deputy Prime Minister, as you mentioned the Chaussee Road, it is something that we've discussed on this program before, and it is a constant headache and a constant problem for many of our motorists. The situation where the government of St. Lucia invests, whether it be through, partnerships with the private sector, we construct new roads, and 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, we have pipes being run across the road. As a result, sometimes it remains open for an extended period of time. And of course, once it is exposed to the elements, we have a bigger problem. How do we address this issue with WASCO cutting up the roads, albeit to provide a very essential and important service to the people of St. Lucia? How do we deal with that problem?
And that is why we signed that MOU with WASCO last week. I'll tell you what happens. What happened is that there was no synergy between WASCO and the ministry, even if WASCO was being run by the ministry. Now, that's surprising,
yes,
eh?
Yes.
But right now, WASCO is not in my ministry.
No.
WASCO is the Ministry of Civil Development. Yes. So we decided to have a synergy, and here's what the MOU says. When the Ministry of Infrastructure is doing any work on the road, any major work, like resurfacing, we're going to inform WASCO.
Okay.
So as we speak, we are resurfacing the Shabbat Road and Independence. As we speak, this is happening, and that's a story that has been told. We are going to be, that was one of the A&M roads, and we had to fire A&M for non-performance. We had to fire them, and we had to rebuild this road. And I'll tell you what, we are doing more road. We're going to be resurfacing 2 lanes in Shabbat. And the original scope of works for these roads was it would come down the Bocage Road, go up into Enchipo, and stop in the junction. We've added Independence City, and we're doing 2 more lanes. And we have savings of $1.4 million.
Savings on the original
on the
contract
original
price?
A&M cost.
Wow.
So I'll tell you what. The A&M cost was $9.5 million.
Yes.
All right? When we fired A&M, we paid them $5.54 million. okay? And we took over the road ourselves. We took over the road. We are doing more work. We are changing. We are changing all the pipes. All the Wasco pipes have been changed. We're taking them out. That's part of the MOU to avoid digging the road again.
Right.
We have included that in the cost. That wasn't part of the original scope.
Right.
And we're doing 2 major lanes in Chabot. Lanes that wanted to happen for years, ages. It's a very steep lane by a guy called Mr. St. Hill. Very steep, even I don't know if you know Chabot.
No,
Very steep hill lane. And there's another one by a guy called Arawa. We're doing these 2 lanes. One in concrete, the one in asphalt.
Why such
and we've saved $1.4 million.
What accounts
and remember
for the variation?
that was the job that there was an advance of $2 million on it. That's the same road. So we're doing that, and we're saving $1.4 million.
What accounts for the difference, Minister?
Well, all I can tell you is the facts.
Yes.
The facts are that there was an original contract signed for 2 A&M by the government of St. Lucia for $9.5 million for these roads. We fired A&M.
Did they commence the project?
Yes, they commenced it.
Okay.
We fired them for non-performance at $5.5 million. So there's $4 million left for the rest of the road.
Yes.
Originally.
Yes.
We went in and we tendered for the rest of the work. More work, increased the scope, made a provision for the resurfacing of the Bocage Road because there is need for another coat of asphalt on the Bocage Road.
Understood.
Increase the scope, and the total cost, we saved $1.4 million. These are the facts.
So we're not talking about $5 million plus. We are speaking about that road being constructed within the original contract price of $9 million.
Right, and making a savings. So the road will be done with increased scope. That's what's important.
Yes.
The scope is increased. And you see, these things, Jadia, are verifiable. I'm not saying it from my head. They're verifiable. Anytime you want, the ministry documents are available from the ministry. That was the same road that there was a mobilization of $675 and a cash advance and an advance payment of $2.7 million before the contract.
Before anything was done.
And it was done. Right? So we've done all that, and we saved $1.4 million. That's a fact. It's not something I'm saying from my head, it's a fact. So let's get back to roads.
Yes.
We also have some good news for the people of Geno. You know there was a landslide in Geno, you know that? Are you aware?
No.
And there's a road that joins Geno, before you go into Forest here, that joins Geno to Kako.
Was that landslide recent or during Hurricane Thomas?
That was Hurricane Thomas.
Wow.
Right? Right now, we've asked the cost from the contractor, from the consultant for that road, was $5.5 million. We thought that, listen to me, let's look at some ways of cutting. So we asked for another design. We got another design, which has to go to the World Bank for no objection, because the World Bank must certify even the designs. Same thing with the Badawash Bridge.
Yes.
Designs have to be certified by the World Bank. But the Geno is a CDB. So we've done that, and I think that their pre-qualifications are out now. It has to go back to the CDB for no objection. When it comes back, tender is going to be out. So work on the Geno side will start about the middle of this year. That's very good news for the people of Geno.
I know that once we open the phone lines, we'll begin to get calls, and there may be questions about roads in respective communities. But just before we go to a break, I want to ask about the whole the subject of desilting. This is a project that, an activity that the government would engage private contractors to undertake so that we can remove the silt in our rivers and we could lower the risk of flooding in some areas. We saw during the last period of heavy rains that Bexar, for example, which is a problem area, Bexar and Mark, they were spared flooding as we would have expected. However, many persons are saying that there needs to be a long-term plan, a long-term approach to dealing with that problem, that we cannot simply rely on moving into that area periodically to the silt. What are the plans for that area, noting that it is a perennial problem year after year, in season and out of season, they are very vulnerable. Plans for that area to make it at least a little bit safer?
Yes, there are good plans for that area, but just if you can go on the surface a little bit. Bexar is flood prone.
Yes.
And that's very, very sad. I feel for the people in that area. During the last rainy season, it didn't flood. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
And I understand some people said because there was not enough rain.
Yes.
I mean, that is very
Or the
sad.
direction of the wind. In fact, the parliamentary representative, Honorable Guy Joseph, said that it was because of the direction of the wind and because, you know, the rain was not as strong as we expected.
Yes.
This is why the area did not flood.
I'm not getting involved. I guess I'm getting involved in sensible things. I want to talk about sensible things. What we did in Bexar and Mark, and the people at Mark can tell you that, we did a lot of minor works, right? A lot of drains. Some people said they had forgotten drains were there. So we cleared that up.
Okay.
So we did that. We cleared a lot of minor drains. So we cleared a lot of river tributaries. We cleared that, right? But there's some better long-term news for them. Part of a World Bank project again, right, is the Bexar Mark flood mitigation works. Now let me make it abundantly clear once and for all. I am not saying that there will never be floods in Bexar and Mark. I am not saying that there will never be floods in Bexar and Mark. Maka di la paka jamais ni flood Bexar et Mark. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that based on a study that was made, there are some flood mitigation measures that have to take effect. The first set of work, I think, the cost will be between $2.2 and $3 million, and consultants have been appointed, have been not by us again, but by the funding agency to go to prepare a consultancy for some of these works. Hopefully, when it comes back, we're going to begin some serious flood mitigation works in Bexar Mark, hopefully by the August this year. That should mitigate some of the flooding. But that's work is going to start. So we're going to, but the normal river desilting and the clearing of tributaries is going to continue. And we're going to start around April this year. Before June, we start doing the clearing, etc.
Understood. Minister, one of the areas that remain unattended as a consequence of the Christmas Eve trough in 2013 would be that area below the Deriso Gap, which is the Elen bypass area. Can we see any movement in that area? I have
very good news for you. I don't know if you knew that before. A contractor has been chosen.
Oh, wow.
And work is going to start there at the latest next month, March. But most likely before that. The contractor has been chosen. He's got to go and get his insurances and his performance bond, etc. When he gets that, he has been chosen. We've got an objection from the World Bank again. I'm making these things clear so you can see. So when you hear people tell you about costs and this thing costs too much and things, so I'm saying all that to tell you the processes that we go through in the Ministry of Infrastructure. Nobody just comes in with a piece of paper and they get jobs and their sister signs a contract. That doesn't happen. You understand? We do not do that. There are processes, and the processes are clear, transparent. The staff, all the staff are involved. This minister does not get involved in any costing. You understand? These are clear processes. So I'm telling you about the alien matchmakers and the process.
Yes.
A contractor has been chosen again through competitive bidding. No objection has come back from the World Bank, and now the contractor has to put his insurance, his performance bond in place to start construction. And at its worst, work should start in March this year.
Indeed, that is very good news. I know that would be excellent news for our minibus operators between Viewfort and Castries and the taxi drivers as well. It is something that many persons have been asking about, so it is good to know that a contractor has been selected and will be seeing work in that area very soon. We'll go to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll be continuing our discussion with the Deputy Prime Minister, but also you will get an opportunity to call in with your comments or your questions. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to In Touch. In a moment, we'll be taking your phone calls. But right before that, Deputy Prime Minister, tomorrow, the Constituency Boundaries Commission report will be laid in the House of Assembly. Even ahead of that, we are already hearing comments being made by some individuals from the opposition and from citizens that St. Lucia simply cannot afford any changes to the boundaries right now. What exactly is contained in that report as it relates to the proposals? What are the considerations before us?
Well, first of all, I just want again to make it clear that the boundaries will not change by the government. It wasn't changed by the government. The Prime Minister doesn't change the boundaries. That's not true. The boundaries that change are reviewed or looked into by a Boundaries Review Commission, and that includes 2 members of the opposition. 2 members. And it's a public knowledge. I can mention the names. They are Mr. Eldridge Stevens and Miss Leonie Theodore. Mistress Leonie Theodore John. Right? These are the 2 members of the opposition, and the government has 2 members, Mrs. Shirley Lewis and Mr. Leo Clark, and the speaker is a chairperson. These boundary changes were signed and agreed to by all the members.
Including members, the representatives
Including
of the opposition.
They signed it.
Eldridge Stevens and Leon Theodore. Okay.
She signed
on to it in agreement.
They signed it. If you look at the document, and it's a pity I don't have it, I will show you the signatures. You'll see 2 signatures. You'll see Leo Clark, you'll see Shirley Lewis, you're going to see Eldridge Stevens, you're going to see Leonie Theodore John, and you're going to see the speaker.
Okay.
So all the contents are there, were agreed by them. You understand? Let us suppose they did not agree. Then they wouldn't sign. Okay? So you won't say, listen to me, these guys changed the boundaries, but I didn't agree. So I didn't sign it. So it was done by the majority. That means the Labour Party and the Speaker. But everybody signed. It's unanimous. So what's there is unanimous. Secondly, the boundaries in which have not changed. They were realigned in 2000. They were realigned. But the last time the boundary, when I say realignment, some parts were moved across, but the number of seats remained the same.
Yes, yes.
The last time that happened, I think, is 1974, I think. That's the last time there was the boundaries, the seats were increased. I think 1974, under John Compton, when there were 2 seats done in Miku and 2 in Dennery. You understand? So we got 4 seats in the Miku Dennery area. And if you look at that, these seats, up to now, they still remain smaller than the other seats. Up to now, the Dennery seat, in fact, the Dennery seat is the smallest seat, the Dennery South seats. And that wasn't cut by us. That was cut by the United Workers' Party. You know, it's very good in St. Lucia to know, and it's a pity that we only see the history in the eyes of a few people. And I think when I leave politics, I'll do some writing. Because there's a lot of history.
Well, you have some stories to tell.
Yes, because, you know, I know the history. You understand? These seats, up to now, people speaking about cutting seats. The United Workers' Party were involved in cutting the seats in the time. And they made 2 seats with Dennery. Up to now, these seats are some of the smallest seats in the country. So you can imagine when they cut them, how big they were. But here is the difference now. The difference now is Grosile has 23,000 voters. Castries East has 11,000 voters. And by the way, Jadia, the seats, the constituency boundaries are not realigned by voters, they're realigned by population. And the Constitution is clear, Section 58. It's clear.
So not by the number of persons on the voting list,
by the number of people
but
who
by
live there.
The census, the total,
yes, the total census. And that's how
okay.
it's worked. And that is because it's representation. And the Constitution is clear that each of the constituencies should be roughly the same size.
Yes.
So it's
the
not something
proposal
that's
now,
said by us. You know, what I always tell people, Jadia, is go and check it yourself. When people say things, the constitution is there. Go and take it. You go, I mean, 58. And the government has given every child, most children from 3 and 4, some computers.
Yes.
Go check
and on
it
Thursday
yourself.
this week, we'll
They're
be
getting them
distributing
some
more. Yes.
Go check it. Look at the constitution of the country. Section 58 says roughly the same size of population, not voters.
Okay.
Grozile, how can is imaginable that Grozile has the same has 1 seat and Denry South has 1 seat? But it's not a Labour Party who put 2 seats in Denry, you know. It's not a Labour Party. So
the consideration now, the consideration that is being presented by that committee, the Constitution, the Boundaries Review Commission, will take us from 17 constituencies to 21.
That's the proposal, yes.
The proposal, which area are we looking at changes?
It's a public document. It has been circulated to all House members, so it's not. I'm not speaking.
And it will be laid in Parliament tomorrow.
I'm not speaking out of tune. I think the arrangement is that they're going to be 2 seats in Grozile, 1 between Kashri South and Kashri Southwest, this area, Kashri South, South. No, I'm coming to South. Kashri South.
Old school. So you're telling me about Southwest. I'm just trying to picture it to see where exactly Southwest would be.
That's between Cicero and going across to Bois Saint-Joseph and Marie. That's the West Southwest, right?
Yes.
And there's one between Castries Southeast, Castries East, and Castries North.
Okay. Which should be in the northern.
So that'll be around Bocage and that area, and Balatan, Monitor. And if you look at population, the population of that part of the country, the Castries population, right? I think it's about 2 or 3 times population in the rest of the country.
Yes.
So by
Castries and Grozile, there's a concentration of
if the government was gerrymandering, let's suppose the government is gerrymandering, or the government wanted to gerrymander, the government would have put 2 seats in Labrie and 2 in Vieux-Fort North.
Well, yes, because these are short seats for the Labour Party, no matter how and when you look at it.
So that would be gerrymandering. The same way the United Workers Party put 2 seats in Dennery and 2 seats in Miko. So that's you know, I mean, again, it was not a history.
But that may be good news for Alan Chastney, because I do not know that there is any other seat anywhere on the island that Alan Chastney would have gotten to run, save for the adjustments that are currently being proposed. So maybe
he's not running Sufra again?
I do not know that he's running Sufra. I do not know that he even has a seat to run.
What about the Microsoft business?
Well, there's been so many seats, Deputy Prime Minister. Dennery, Choiseul. I think every month he does tours of different constituencies to test the waters.
Including the market on Saturday.
So I am just saying that perhaps the opposition will not oppose for opposing sake, because maybe there is an opportunity in there for them somewhere. Maybe this is why they sign on, but of course they will be given an opportunity to present their views on the matter. We'll be putting our number on the screen right now, so you can call in with your thoughts, or you can call in with your questions as well. We have discussed a wide range of issues, from the falling fuel prices. We saw a review of the pass-through mechanism from 3 months to 3 weeks, so that we can have a more direct impact of the falling prices on the consumers. 452-7347, this is the number to dial. We have our first caller. Good night. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasant. Good evening. Good night.
Good night to you.
Yeah, my question is for Mr. Pierre.
Sure. Can you hear the caller, sir? I think we're having some trouble if his earpiece.
Yes, I think I saw it.
Yeah. Yes. You can go ahead. I will relay the question to him, and then afterwards we'll arrange the earpiece.
Okay.
It's in a different language.
He says he just wanted to assure that his earpiece is not in a different language. It is not. He's fine. So you can go ahead now.
Oh, okay. I saw when it fell off.
Yes. He's okay now.
Right. Okay. It's good news to know that the Asu Canal Bridge will be built at last. And
the what color?
Asu Canal Bridge.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm calling from Grozile.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm just inquiring about the Piat Bridge in Grozile as well.
Well, caller, the Asu Canal Bridge is being built by the Turkish government. They gave us some money for hurricane rebuilding, and then we decided to use it in the Asu Canal Bridge. I know for the Piat Bridge, but I think we're drawing designs for that. But it's one after, as you know, there are fiscal realities. So Aso Canal will come first, and you should have Mr. Pierre after.
Okay, well, okay, I understand, because I live in the area, and I'm a community activist as well, and what I see is happening with this bridge. There is vehicles cannot, hardly would you find two vehicles driving side by side at any given time. And school children, they walk on this bridge to attend school. And when it rains heavily, this bridge, because of the volume of water that it receives now, it quickly will overflow. And in the vicinity of the bridge itself will be flooded. So it's also good news to know that it's in the pipeline. But how soon will that be done? This year, next year?
Also, one caller?
He is asking how soon will the Pierre bridge be. Thank you so much for your contribution,
I don't
caller.
want to make promises that I can keep, but I'll tell you something very, very short. You will see what we can do. Aso Canal first, and we shall have Mr. Pierre. But we are aware of the situation there, and we know it's very, very troublesome.
Sure. We have another call. Good night. Thank you for staying in touch.
Yeah, good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night to Mr. Pierre.
Yes, good night, caller.
First of all, Mr. Pierre, I just want to make an observation about Le Pensée.
The who?
Le Pensée and sidewalks. I mean, that is just such a good thing, because the Le Pensée Road.
Yes, the Le Pensée Road, yes?
Yes, I have never ever in my life seen sidewalks on that Le Pensée Road, and I just want to applaud the ministry, your ministry, and all those responsible for putting the sidewalks. Another thing too, I am very thankful for the reduction in the gas, and all the people who are taking credit for it. I'm very thankful, and more so those from the opposition who claim that the pressure from the pressure that they gave the government has lowered, and I'm just encouraging them to take that a step further and take it to Mega G and Super G, so that at least now that we can afford gas, we'll be able to afford the groceries. So I'm just thanking them, and I'm just asking them right now, transfer the pressure to the supermarkets, to Mega G and Super G, so that we could afford the food items. Now that we can drive together, now that we can pay for the cooking gas.
Yes, we need to see the drop there as well.
I would like to put more cheese in my macaroni and cheese, and so
we all do.
I would like them to, really, I'm encouraging them, and I'm just thanking them.
Yes.
Because I'm thankful. No matter who did it, I'm thankful.
Sure. Thank you so much for that contribution. Good night, you're on the air.
Hi, good night. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good night to your guest as well.
Good night.
Minister Pierre, there's something that I've observed in the country, and not so much just to sing praises to this current government. I look at St. Lucia. I look at St. Lucia from 3 years ago. I look at St. Lucia from the time we had Hurricane Thomas. We had the Christmas Eve trough, and our country has a facelift. Our country is doing well. We have bridges restored. I heard the host earlier talk about the Badley and so on. All of these things have been restored. And this is progress. To me, this is what progress means. We looked at our country and the way that it was, and what we had to come from and so on. But with a smaller budget and with less money, it looks like we're able to do a lot more than what was previously handed to us by the former administration. Today, the prices of gas went down as well. And I want to say thank you, because I am maybe looked at as probably one of the poor persons of this country and so on, or middle class, if you want to call it that. And for the first time in a long time, you can go to buy an LPG cylinder.
First time in over 15 years.
Yes.
In October of 2000, the LPG 20 pound was just above $28. We're talking about 15 years ago. And so the prices today, it is much lower. It is the cheapest that it has been in St. Lucia in over 15 years.
And I must say, I am so elated. I'm so happy about that.
If you have an extra tank, you should fill it.
Yes. Yes, I went today, and I can tell you, 3 tanks, all of them are filled. Yes, I did.
Yes.
I looked at bus drivers today. I looked at motorists today, and people were telling me they're so happy. They're so happy that the prices went down. And we have some people who are claiming that it's because of the pressure that they put on the government. That is why the prices went down. I don't know what pressure it was. They said they matched, and the reason for the match changed a million times. And but I just want to say that I'm very happy that the prices went down. Our drivers are happy. No increase in bus fares and so on. I am very happy. I know it's hard decisions that the cabinet has to make,
Indeed.
but we have a future to secure for our children and our children's children. So these are the decisions that we have to make now. And I just want to say that you, as a minister, as a member of cabinet and so on, some people are going to criticize, and with everything in life, you expect that. I know your host, the host now, she gets her share as well.
I can handle that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you that when you're doing something good, people always talk, people always say things, and I pray for you. I pray for you guys every day, and I just wanted to commend you on the job that you're doing. Well done, Minister. I know that it's not an easy thing in your ministry and so on, but you have been able to build 16 bridges and restore this country and so on.
With
and
less
our
money.
network and so on, connecting with each other is a lot easier.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll go straight to the phone lines. We've lost that call. You can continue to call in at 452-7347. Indeed, fuel prices are lower today than they were at the last adjustment in our bus fares. The 20-pound LPG cylinder is the lowest that it has been in over 15 years. Good night. Thank you for joining us.
Good night.
Hi, good night.
Pierre.
Yes, good night to you.
And your guest, Mr. Pierre.
Good night, caller.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre, I'm calling from Nicotal.
Yes.
I'm hearing you talking about roads. But the road in Blanchard, it's not
road in?
installed. So when
The road in
you do
Blanchard.
something wrong,
Thank you so much for that question. He said he's calling about the road in Blanchard.
Yes, caller, the road in Blanchard is indeed bad. We know that. It's very bad. I think there's also another road called, there's actually there are 2 or 3 roads that are very extremely bad in Blanchard. We'll see what we can do for you next budget cycle.
Indeed, but the government has done some work in Mico South in terms of the road and so on. We've had some communities.
We've done some work, especially for the
CDP,
CDP
the
program,
Constituency Development Program. Good night, you're on the air. We've lost that call. 452-7347. You can continue to call in with your contribution or your questions. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night, Mr. Pierre.
Good night, caller.
Yeah, I have been hearing you talking about the bridges. But
From where?
Can you speak a little louder, caller?
I've heard you talking about all the bridges, right?
Yes.
But I haven't heard you mention after the Davis Gap going into view for this bypass. I can't trust it.
Oh, we spoke about that already, caller. I'll just allow the minister to repeat just for your information. He was asking about the bypass, the A-lane bypass, and as to what exactly is happening.
Yes, caller. A contractor has been chosen, an award has been made. It's gone to the World Bank for no objection. I think that has come back. The contractor has put in place his performance bond and his insurance, and at the latest, work will start there in March.
Indeed, good news. We've lost that call. Good night. Thank you for calling.
Yes, Julia.
Yes, good night.
Yes, I heard you saying that it's been a long time that the fuel prices haven't been so low. Okay, so what I want to ask you right now.
Yes.
Who is the liar, Kenyan Tony or Shafni?
Let's deal with the issue of fuel prices. And it is nice that, caller, you can call in to ask me this question because it allows us to put a few matters to rest. The opposition has said a lot as it relates to the fuel prices and the CIF. And as far as I'm concerned, most of what they have said... Wait. We need
I just want you to answer me one question.
Sure.
Who is the liar, Kenyan Tony or Shasni?
I think Shasni's record in line is public. Everybody knows Shasni's record in line. But I want to deal with the CIF prices because they've been talking about CIF.
But the same price Shasni was saying to bring down the fuel prices, that is what it is now.
But let me explain to you, caller. Yes, and at least probably the Deputy Prime Minister can come in.
Caller. Shasni wasn't saying bring down price by anything. Let me explain to you. Neither Shasni nor the Prime Minister produce oil or they import oil. Now, when oil is imported and gasoline is imported, the price is based on the price that they imported for. What the government does is the government adds 7% service charge, a markup for the wholesaler, a markup for the retailer, and $2.50 excise tax, and that is the price that the gas is sold. Now, that price is was set for 3 months. Okay?
Yes.
So that means if after the 3 months, if during the 3 months, the price that they bought it for went down, it is still sold for the same price. If it went up, it is still sold for the same price. Government does not import oil. Government does not sell oil. I gave you the example about the supermarket. If the government has a fixed price for something that's sold in the supermarket, when the price goes up, government doesn't make money. When the price goes down, government doesn't make money either because government does not import oil. Oil is imported in St. Lucia by two people, Rubis and Soil. So if there is a gain in that the price that they bought it for is cheaper and they still have said at the same price because the price is controlled, if anybody makes a gain, it's going to the people who import the oil, not the government.
Indeed. And so just to add before we take our next call, the price build-up for the current $10.65 for gasoline is based on a CIF price of $5.81. We have the $2.50 excise tax that has not changed. The service charge 29 cents. That means the landed cost would be at $8.60. The company margin is $1.01. Takes us to a wholesale price of $9.60. And then you add the retailer's margin of $1.05 would bring us to the unit retail price of $10.65. When the prices were adjusted in January, the CIF price was much higher. Yes, it was $8.66. And whereas after the prices were adjusted in January, Alan Shasni kept saying that the CIF price is much lower, that it is $6. He refused to say to the public as at what date.
Exactly.
Because the prices he was quoting were prices of shipments brought in after the prices were adjusted.
And the prices are not changed every day.
Exactly.
The prices are changed on a 3-month period. The same way, I'll tell you something, caller. Supposing the price of oil goes up tomorrow, we'll still say it at the same $10, you know.
Yes.
Because the price is fixed for 3 weeks.
Yes, indeed.
Before it is fixed for 3 months.
But I will tell you, the very same persons will be asking for immediate relief if the prices were to go up. Good night. Thank you for joining us. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, good night, Nigeria.
Good night.
Good night. Caller.
I'm very, very pleased with your contribution tonight. And I must extend congratulations to the Prime Minister and his cabinet for making that decision.
Thank you.
I think that we needed to give an explanation on this CIF thing, which is continuously coming to the fore. The simple matter is that it is an equation that you are dealing with.
Yes.
And that equation has only 2 variables, and the rest are constants.
Yes.
Of the variables, one of them is dominant, and that is the CIF price. And that is the simplest thing for people to understand. I do not understand why the fellows in the opposition keep on talking about some gain. There is no gain. The government can never get a gain.
It makes me
Now,
wonder
having
what was
said
happening
so,
when they were in office.
the other point that I want to raise, there was a 3-month principle established, which had to be put into place before you change the price. And that is simply what happened. Now, things have changed, and quite rightly, the Prime Minister explicitly said that he was going to reduce the price further. So there's no question of any, and that is before the march or any of these things.
Yes.
So that did not influence the march. You could ignore the politics of it and just do what you said that you are going to do, which is precisely what the Prime Minister has done. And I congratulate him on that. I think that he was even more generous, especially in the price of the cooking gas.
Yes.
Because that is already highly subsidized. And there I think that he could have,
taking something for himself, taking something for the fiscal deficit.
A little breather there for the subsidy and reducing the subsidy level. The other point is that there's always a lag time between going from one system to the next. And at that transitional period always creates problems. All right? So you have to wait for a lag time. Now, here's Shasne tonight. In terms of the reduction of the prices of other commodities, he's talking about a lag time.
So the lag did not apply?
How can you have a lag time in one case and not a lag time in this case?
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes, Colin, you're very correct.
Now, the other thing I want to say, though, is the reduction in the cost of living is affected, whether you like it or not, by energy costs.
Yes.
Now, we have a serious problem with a big company that has taken advantage of us for a long time. And at one time, I was going to go for them after I had dealt with cable and wireless, and that is Lucilec.
This is Mr. Calix George.
Lucilec has taken advantage of St. Lucians from 1974. All right, we had a big increase in the price of oil, and so it was necessary to have a surcharge. And we had that surcharge from 1974. And adjusting that surcharge for all these years. Now the time has come for Lucilec to give us a price based on a cost of production, because there is absolutely no need for any surcharge again. You get the point, Minister?
Yes, Scholar, you're very correct.
So I hope that the Prime Minister and his cabinet and whichever minister is responsible for Lucilec tackle them on that problem.
Thank you so much.
Because with the decrease in the price of oil, there must be a corresponding drop in the price of electricity production, since it is a very large component of the production, a big component of the production process. And so we are expecting further relief for our consumers because electricity cost is perhaps the highest single cost in the households of St. Lucians.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Minister, you would agree that once we begin to see the downward movement in fuel prices at the pumps and the LPG, people will begin to clamor for reduction in other areas.
And then, in fact, Jada, that's a good question. Incidentally, I was speaking to the cruise people in Miami, in Florida, and they said to me, I asked them the same thing, and they said that these prices will not be reflected until about October, which I found very strange. The lag effect that they're speaking about.
Wow, wow. We have another call. Good night, you're on the air. We've lost that call. Hello, thank you for joining us.
Hi, good night, Jada.
Good night.
Hi, Mr. Pierre.
Good night, caller.
Yes. Mr. Pierre, being a St. Lucian, you know, I live in the south, and coming out from Uranora Airport, right? The main entrance, you look north, you look south. When you look north, the road looks nice, Barber Green Road. When you look south, it looks like as if it's just ghetto, and you know, it's like low class people. I've heard that from a white man. He said that he's a tourist, right? He booked his hotel in Castries, but when he came out of the airport, he never knew Viewfort was that nice, because when he looked at the road, it was like, man, don't go there.
You're speaking about the area
you mean
between...
the area just past the airport?
Yes,
that joins to the concrete road?
This piece of road before you get the concrete road.
Yeah.
By Skyway in to Kitch. This whole area is deplorable.
Yes, this
whole road is a mess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know,
little by little. Remember, we just resurfaced Clark Street. We did Louis Street.
But to me, I'm seeing they're fixing the road behind the square in Viewfort, when there are more important roads to be fixed.
Caller, the road behind the square was in a horrible state.
But Mr. Pierre, that is a little residential area.
Wow.
The road I'm talking about is the main highway.
Yes, but caller, we did the new. I agree with you. It will come there. But remember, we did the main highway. We did from Viewfort to the Library Junction. We did that. We also did Clark Street. So it's becoming. I agree with you. We come in. Have a little patience with us.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we agree.
To encourage development, infrastructure, like primary infrastructure like this should be there. You know, you're giving people the idea like down south is basically a no-no. That's how they see it, you know. Because from the airport to Castries, the road is sweet, nice.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you.
We're suffering down here, you know.
When we looked at no, but don't say that because we
spoke
just
about the
did.
bypass. Check this bypass they built. You spoke about the bypass cost $3-point-something million, right?
Yes, it wasn't me built it.
And check our bypass by Allen. It's like wow. This bypass, when I pass in this road, I have to crawl with my car.
Yeah,
if
but
I don't crawl,
the bypass in Alien is a temporary thing.
But Mr. Pierre, it's temporary, but it has been there a long time.
No, but
you would never put a bypass like that up north.
No, but
you
you see,
never put one like that
because we will not waste that money. But let's take a pin because we did do a bypass in Bonte under my ministry and it didn't cost $3 million. So you're not very correct.
And I remember one time you were complaining. You said that the Deriso Road cost $10 million. And tonight I heard you said that this little bypass cost $3-point-something million.
Yes.
So
that's a fact.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, the Deriso Road, right, basically is cheap compared to this bypass.
Okay, let's not go there. Let's not go into the Deriso Road.
Let's not
go. No, please.
Basically.
The cost of the Deriso Road. Again, these things are not what I said, you know. There's documentary evidence in the minute. Anyway, let's not go there. But the point I'm making, I agree with you that piece of road between the Hiwanora Gap and the concrete road needs to be done. Is good. I agree with you. Okay, caller, I agree.
We need, and I must say, I'm very happy as being a motorist, and I travel every day from north to south. The price of gas has gone down, but I'm just skeptic. My fingers are crossed because I don't know for how long.
Exactly, because you know, St. Lucia doesn't make gas, so we have to depend on the import costs. But you're very correct. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for your contribution. We can take a final call. Good night. You on the air?
Good night.
Hello. Good night.
I heard the minister mention something with regards to the Clark Street, right?
Clark Street, Viewfort, yeah.
Now, I have a simple issue with that. Not too long ago, some pedestrian got knocked down by a vehicle there. Okay. We boast about the nice road, but in Viewfort, the pedestrian crossing, there are none. Nowhere in Viewfort, and that's bad.
Yeah, the pedestrian crossings have not been repainted.
Caller, there was an issue with the quality of paint to be used, but we know that that's going to be dealt with. But remember, caller, we did the sidewalks first, eh? So it's not fair to say we didn't say about the pedestrian, but because before we did the road, we spent over $600,000 in doing sidewalks. But you're very correct, and I agree with you. I'm not arguing. We need to redo the pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, well, that's my main issue.
Sure,
I think it's something that needs attention.
Yeah,
yes,
okay. Thanks.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller. We've come to the end of the calling segment of our program. Indeed, I can see the lines are still blinking, and there are many persons who want to ask many questions. And this is why I started out by telling you, Deputy Prime Minister, that you'd have to come back on so that we can engage in some more discussion on what is happening in your ministry and what is happening generally as well in the politics of St. Lucia. I want to give you an opportunity for your final remarks as we close the program.
Well, Jada, thank you very much for having me. Thanks very much for the callers. I want to leave the callers with one simple idea, one simple thought. The drop in fuel prices is good for the consumer. Changing to the free week pass-through system would benefit us because the decrease in prices. But we do not control the price of oil. Mm-hmm. We must understand that only happened because the price of oil has caused the price of gas to go down. But when the prices go up, then if we remain at the 3-week period of adjustment, then you must understand the prices will rise much faster than if you were on the 3-month period. I think that is very important, and we must note that. And the Prime Minister always said, before any demonstration, before any march, that there will be an adjustment if prices continue to fall, and he kept to his word. And finally, I want to tell the people of St. Lucia, before you listen to anything anybody tells you, check it out for yourself. It doesn't matter who says it. Could be me, could be the Prime Minister, could be JD herself. Check it out. Do not let people just tell you things and quote figures and quote percentages and make statements of conjecture that sound as fact. Check it out and you see for yourself. I want to thank, again, I want to finally thank the people of St. Lucia and the minibus drivers for understanding our situation, and I hope that prices can continue to fall so we can continue to enjoy the benefits. Thank you very much.
Of course, and this is the desire of every single St. Lucian, that the prices will continue to drop and that we will see further reductions. I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight on In Touch. You can always count on a very informative and interactive program here on Choice every Monday at 9 p.m. During the week, you can stay in touch with me on Facebook, In Touch with Pierre. You can also like the Facebook page of our Prime Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister. We have a Facebook page, Press Secretary to the Prime Minister, St. Lucia. Everyone is communicating with the public on social media. Our ministers are very active there as well. So there is always an avenue through which you can verify information coming from the government of St. Lucia. You can ask questions on what you hear in the news. You can also ensure that you are in touch with us via Twitter. You name it, and there is a way to get that information almost immediately and to stay in touch with government. We'll be back here next week, Monday, with another edition of In Touch. But be sure to tune in to NTN tomorrow to pay attention to what is happening in the House of Assembly. We'll be going to the House of Assembly from 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we will be discussing, you will hear the views of Parliament on that report that our Deputy Prime Minister referenced a little while ago on the proposed changes to our boundaries. Thank you so much again. We'll be back next week Monday with another edition of In Touch.